Welcome, friends, to our nightly gathering of storytellers and story lovers. As the busy day fades into memory and the gentle night spreads its wings, we find ourselves in this magical moment where anything is possible. Take a deep breath in, filling your lungs with calm, and as you breathe out, feel any lingering worries drift away. Our story tonight, Goodnight Museum, is like a dear friend waiting to take your hand and lead you on an unforgettable journey. As the last rays of sunlight filtered through the museum's grand windows, painting the marble floors with warm golden hues, young Olivia stood in the great hall, her green eyes wide with excitement. The day visitors were leaving, their footsteps echoing through the corridors, but Olivia wasn't going anywhere. Tonight was special. She was going to see how the museum said goodnight. Olivia's mother was the museum's head curator, and she had promised her daughter this magical experience for her 10th birthday. Olivia had spent countless weekends exploring the museum's exhibits, but never after closing time. The thought of being alone with all the artifacts and artworks filled her with wonder and a touch of nervous anticipation. "Mom," Olivia said, tugging on her mother's sleeve, "do the things in the museum go to sleep like we do?" Her mother smiled down at her, a twinkle in her eye. "Well, Olivia, not exactly like we do, but the museum does have its own special way of saying goodnight. Would you like to learn about it?" Olivia nodded eagerly, practically bouncing with excitement. "All right then," her mother said, taking her hand. "Let's watch the museum say goodnight together." As they walked through the now quiet halls, the last echoes of the day's visitors fading away, Olivia's mother began to speak in a soft, almost reverent voice. "You see, Olivia, as day turns to night, the museum begins to whisper its goodnights to all the treasures it holds within its walls. It starts with the smallest exhibits first." Olivia leaned forward, straining her ears to hear the museum's whispers. "In the insect collection," her mother continued, leading her towards a room filled with glass cases, "the tiny specimens seem to settle into their pins. The iridescent wings of butterflies catch the last bits of light, as if giving a final, colorful wave goodnight." Through the glass, Olivia could see rows upon rows of insects, perfectly preserved. She imagined them all giving tiny yawns before falling asleep. "Next," her mother said as they moved on, "the geology exhibit prepares for rest. The crystals and gemstones which have been sparkling all day under the lights slowly dim their brilliance. It's as if they're closing their glittering eyes." They paused by a large amethyst geode, its purple crystals seeming to pulse with a soft inner light. Olivia reached out, almost expecting to feel it breathing. "The fossils," her mother added in a hushed tone, "settled deeper into their stone beds. The ancient bones of dinosaurs creak softly as they relax, perhaps dreaming of the days when they roamed the earth." A shiver of excitement ran down Olivia's spine as she gazed up at the towering skeleton of a T-Rex, its fearsome jaws now seeming less threatening in the dimming light. As they stepped into the next hall, the artifacts from ancient civilizations surrounded them. Greek vases, Egyptian sarcophagi, and Mayan carvings stood silently in their cases. "But now," her mother continued, her voice low and rhythmic, "as the night grows deeper, the museum says goodnight to its older residents. The ancient artifacts, which have seen thousands of years pass, prepare for another night of quiet contemplation." They stopped in front of a beautiful Egyptian cat statue, its eyes seeming to follow them as they moved. "The cat goddess Bastet," her mother explained, "would guard the pharaohs as they slept. Now, she keeps watch over the museum at night, her eyes alert for any danger." Olivia nodded solemnly, feeling a new respect for the ancient guardian. As they wandered through the halls, the shadows grew longer, and the air became filled with a hushed anticipation. Olivia felt as if the very walls of the museum were holding their breath, waiting for something magical to happen. In the painting gallery, her mother said as they entered a room filled with ornate frames. The subjects of the artworks prepare for their nightly rest. The ladies in the portraits adjust their postures ever so slightly, finding a more comfortable position to hold through the night. The landscape seemed to dim, as if twilight is falling within the frames themselves. Olivia gazed at a large, impressionist painting of a garden. She could almost see the painted flowers nodding their heads, ready for sleep. "But what about the statues, Mom?" Olivia asked, remembering the halls filled with marble figures. Her mother smiled mysteriously. The statues. They have a very special nighttime routine. You see, Olivia, when all the visitors have gone and the lights are dimmed, the statues get to stretch their limbs." Olivia's eyes widened in disbelief. "Really? They can move?" Her mother winked. "Well, that's what some people say. They say that at the stroke of midnight, you might hear the soft scraping of stone as the statues shift their positions ever so slightly. By morning, they're back in place, but perhaps with a slightly different expression or pose." A mixture of excitement and slight apprehension filled Olivia as she imagined the stone figures coming to life. As they continued their tour, Olivia was amazed at how different the museum felt at night. The halls that were usually filled with chattering visitors were now quiet and mysterious. Strange shadows danced on the walls, cast by the security lights, and every footstep echoed loudly in the silence. They passed through the medieval armor exhibit, where suits of armor stood at attention. "The knights," her mother whispered, "spend their nights polishing their armor and sharpening their swords, always ready to defend the museum if needed." Olivia giggled softly, picturing the empty suits of armor clanking around with polish and whetstones. In the natural history section, they paused before a diorama of a prehistoric scene. "The woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers," her mother explained, returned to their Ice Age dreams. Perhaps they remember the feel of snow beneath their feet and the taste of ancient grasses. As they walked, Olivia began to feel the lateness of the hour. She yawned, feeling as sleepy as she imagined the exhibits must be. But she fought to keep her eyes open, not wanting to miss a moment of this nighttime adventure. "Mom," she asked through another yawn, "what about the really old things, like the mummies? How do they say goodnight?" Her mother smiled, clearly impressed by Olivia's curiosity. "The mummies, my dear, have been sleeping for thousands of years. But each night, as the museum settles down, they sink a little deeper into their ancient slumber. The hieroglyphs on their sarcophagi glow softly, reciting silent prayers for peaceful rest." Olivia shivered, both from excitement and a touch of fear. "Are you sure they don't wake up?" Her mother gave her a reassuring hug. "Don't worry, sweetheart. The mummies are quite content to sleep. They've earned their rest after so many centuries." As the night grew deeper, Olivia and her mother found themselves in the planetarium. The domed ceiling above them was alive with stars, planets, and swirling galaxies. "This," her mother said softly, "is where the museum dreams. All the knowledge, all the history, all the art. It all comes together here, in a cosmic dance of imagination." Olivia lay back on one of the reclining seats, gazing up at the artificial night sky. The stars seemed to twinkle at her knowingly, as if sharing secrets of the universe. "The museum has its own special nightlife," her mother said, her voice blending with the soft ambient music of the planetarium. "While some exhibits rest, others come alive in their own way, creating a beautiful balance in our world of wonders." Olivia nodded sleepily, her imagination filled with images of dinosaurs stretching their ancient bones, knights polishing their armor, and Egyptian cats prowling the quiet halls. "But what about the newest exhibits, Mom?" she asked, fighting to keep her eyes open. "How does the museum say goodnight to them?" Her mother smiled, clearly pleased with Olivia's thoughtful question. The new exhibits. They're like newcomers to a strange land. The older exhibits welcome them, showing them how to settle in for the night. It's like a big, friendly slumber party, where the ancient Greek statues might share stories with modern sculptures, or Victorian dolls might teach contemporary robots how to properly curtsy before bed. Olivia giggled at the thought of a proper Victorian doll instructing a shiny robot. As the night wore on, Olivia and her mother sat in comfortable silence in the planetarium, surrounded by the gentle glow of artificial stars. The air was filled with a symphony of quiet museum sounds, the soft hum of climate control systems keeping the artifacts at just the right temperature and humidity, the occasional creak of an old floorboard settling, and the distant, muffled footsteps of the night security guard making his rounds. "Mom," Olivia said after a while, her voice thick with sleepiness. "I think I can hear the museum saying goodnight." Her mother smiled and pulled her close. "What does it sound like, sweetheart?" Olivia was quiet for a moment, concentrating hard. "It sounds like a big, gentle sigh. Like when you finish reading a really good book, and you close it slowly, happy but sad it's over. It's soft and peaceful, and makes all the exhibits feel safe and loved." Her mother's eyes glistened with emotion in the starlight. "That's beautiful, Olivia. I think you've understood the museum's good night perfectly." As they sat there, embraced by the night and the soothing presence of centuries of human achievement, Olivia's mother began to hum softly. It was a tune that seemed to blend seamlessly with the ambient sounds around them, creating a perfect museum lullaby. Olivia's eyelids grew heavier, and she leaned against her mother, feeling safe and content. As she drifted off to sleep, she imagined all the museum exhibits settling down for the night, the dinosaur bones creaking as they relaxed, the painted figures finding comfortable poses, the suits of armor standing at ease, and the ancient artifacts sinking into well-earned rest. In her dreams, Olivia wandered through the museum's halls, but now everything was alive and moving. She danced with jubilant statues, had tea with queens from oil paintings, and rode on the back of a gentle dinosaur. She helped polish a knight's armor, deciphered ancient hieroglyphs with a friendly mummy, and sailed across starry skies in a Viking longship. The museum cradled her in its timeless embrace, whispering secrets of history, art, and human achievement. As the night wore on, a gentle mist seemed to fill the museum, softening the outlines of exhibits and blurring the lines between different eras and cultures. In the Egyptian hall, the cat goddess Bastet silently padded from her pedestal, making her nightly rounds to ensure all was well. In the medieval section, the faint sound of ghostly tournament trumpets echoed softly, as if heralding the approach of dawn. In the planetarium, Olivia slept peacefully in her mother's arms, her dreams filled with the wonders of the museum. Her mother gazed at the star-filled dome above, marveling at the museum's ability to inspire such wonder and imagination in her little girl. As the first light of dawn began to creep through the museum's windows, Olivia stirred in her sleep. Her mother looked down at her, smiling at the peaceful expression on her face. "Olivia," she whispered gently, "it's time to wake up. The museum is saying good morning." Olivia's eyes fluttered open, and she looked around in momentary confusion before remembering where she was. She sat up, rubbing her eyes, and then gasped in delight at the sight before her. The sunrise was painting the planetarium in soft, rosy hues. The projected stars faded as if giving way to the real sun outside. Throughout the museum, a quiet energy seemed to build as the new day approached. "Look, Mom," Olivia exclaimed, pointing at the constellations as they dimmed. "The museum's waking up." Her mother nodded, smiling. "That's right, sweetheart. Just like us, the museum has its own way of greeting the new day. As they walked through the halls, Olivia noticed subtle changes. The paintings seemed brighter, their colors more vivid in the morning light. The dinosaur bones stood tall and proud, ready for another day of inspiring awe in visitors. Even the air felt different, crisp and full of possibility. "Mom," Olivia said, her voice filled with awe, "can we say good morning to the museum?" Her mother smiled and nodded. "Of course we can. Why don't you go ahead?" Olivia stood in the center of the great hall, took a deep breath, and called out, "Good morning, museum. Thank you for letting me see you say goodnight. I hope all the exhibits had wonderful dreams." As if in response, a shaft of sunlight broke through a high window, illuminating a beautiful marble statue. For a moment, Olivia could have sworn she saw the statue's lips curve in a small smile. Her mother squeezed her hand. "Come on, Olivia. We need to get ready for the day. The staff will be arriving soon, and we need to make sure everything is perfect for today's visitors." As they walked towards the staff area, Olivia took one last look at the awakening museum. Every hall seemed to pulse with life and energy, full of stories waiting to be told and discoveries waiting to be made. Olivia smiled, feeling like she now shared a special secret with the museum, the knowledge of how it said good night and good morning to all its wonderful treasures. From that day on, whenever Olivia visited the museum, whether during regular hours or on special nights with her mother, she always made sure to wish the exhibits a good night or a good morning. And as she grew older, she never forgot the magic of that night when she learned about the museum's bedtime routine. It instilled in her a lifelong love and respect for history, art, and knowledge, a gift as precious and enduring as the museum itself. And so, as we end our tale, we too bid good night to the museum, to its ancient artifacts and modern marvels, to its paintings and sculptures, to its fossils and planetary models. May it inspire us in our dreams and greet us with excitement in the morning, forever a source of wonder and discovery in our lives. Good night, museum. Until we meet again.